Hello, this is George Demaree with another episode of Your Money Matters. You know, we've been doing this for almost 18 months now, and I've run into so many people who've said, George, that information is so valuable. It's helped me in making good financial decisions. And many times people will say, well, can you meet with me later? Can we talk? And I always answer that question with a question. Are you willing to change? Are you willing to do what it takes to become more financially literate? Do you have the discipline to do what needs to be done? Well, remember what we do in Your Money Matters is based on basically 5 things. 1, we just want to help you with your basic financial literacy. 2, we want to help you to think critically when you're making buying decisions, when you're spending your money and how to use your money. 3, we understand that it's hard to make spending decisions if you're not making money. So we look for opportunities for employment and education to help you move forward. Next, how can we help you to become more credit worthy? I mean, what do you do? What do you do to get that credit number over 700? It is very, very important that you get your credit number over 700. Because always remember, when you're buying an item and you're buying it on credit, the first thing you're purchasing is the money before you buy the product. So why spend $6,000 in interest when you can only pay $1,000? That's what a 700 credit rating will do for you. And finally, we look for ways of getting out of debt. Financial slavery. When you are not in debt, it's so many things that you can do. Well, last week, we decided that we would have this program more focused on teens and people in their early 20s, from basically age 15 to 24. The reason being is, as we said last week, our schools don't do a good job of teaching you on how to handle your money, on helping you to become financially literate. That's the reason so many people make bad decisions. I used to be one of those folks. I wish I was nearly this smart 20 years ago, and I'm telling you, I'd have a ton more money. Some of those things that I bought, that I purchased, just because it had a logo on it 15, 20 years ago, have no value today. If I had taken that money, that $100, that $200, sometimes $1,000, depending on what I bought, and bought a share of Apple or a share of Facebook or a share of Coke or Pepsi for that matter, look, that is an asset that appreciates as opposed to an asset that depreciates. So tell you what we talked about last week. The first thing was budgeting. We wanted you to understand that no matter who you talk to, no matter who the financial planner is, the first thing they'll say to you is set a budget. I don't care what you're doing. If you run a business, one day you may want to run your own business. When you do, young people, and older folks too, you need to set a line item budget. We talked about interest. We wanted young people to understand interest and interest rates. That's why it's so important to have a good credit number. It's important that pay the least amount of interest that you can, and if you can avoid them, don't use credit cards. We spent some time on insurances. There's a lot of different kind of insurances. You can't avoid them. You need to be protected. And remember what insurance really is from an insurance company's perspective. It's risk management. Same way, really, with your credit number. I mean, that's also risk management. If you're a person that pays their bills on time, then a bank or a lender will lend you money at a cheaper interest rate because they don't believe there's a lot of risk in getting their money back. We talked about debt. One of the things that Reverend Cosby said a number of weeks ago, maybe months ago now, he talked about options. And what's it mean to have options? He says options mean power. That when you have options, you have power. For an example, how many times, and this will happen to you young people, how many times will you try to get financed and you're waiting to get a phone call to see if your credit was approved? Well, if your credit rating is 720 or above, you don't have to wait. If it's 720 or above, you can shop and see who you want to borrow money from, rather than see if you're going to get approved. It's very important. We also talked about lifestyle. It's important to live a healthy lifestyle. Work out. Watch what you eat. Don't drink a lot. Stay away from drugs. All of this stuff will affect you and affect your money in the long run. And finally, last week, we talked about taxes. You know, how do taxes work? Remember that when you're working, the first person that gets money is Uncle Sam. It's the federal government. And the taxes that you pay are an estimate. That's the reason at the end of the year, when you do your tax returns, many times you get a tax refund. Now remember what we said last week. It's not the federal government giving you some end of the year bonus. That ain't what's happening. What the federal government is doing is paying you back what you overpaid. So when you get a tax return at the end of the year and you get a check for 100, 500, 1,000, maybe 4,000 or 5,000, it's because that's how much more money you paid in taxes than you needed to pay based on the income that you earned. So remember that. Now let me also say this, a little sidebar as it relates to that. When if you happen to have overpaid in your taxes, and you get a tax return, do not use that money to go further in debt. Well, what do you mean? Let me tell you what happens every February and March. You'll get a number of, especially auto dealers, and everybody needs a car, but you'll get a number of auto dealers will say, bring your income tax for a down payment on a car. If you have a good car, keep the car that you have, take that money and invest that money in an appreciating asset as opposed to a depreciating asset. Where can you take that money? Maybe even make it a part of your emergency fund. We talked about emergency funds quite a bit. Everybody, I don't care what you have, everybody in life is in one of three positions. One, they just got over a hurdle. Two, they're in the middle of some major drama. Or three, major dramas is right in front of them. So just because things are going well today, trust me, something's going to happen that's going to be unexpected and you're going to need some money. A personal example. My wife pulls out of the garage early this week. Got a nice car. She gets halfway at the garage, the car stops. Wow. We get it towed in, she needs a new alternator. Well, the alternator, I'm not going to tell you how much it was, but we have a Lexus. It wasn't inexpensive. But because we had an emergency fund, did we want to give it to the dealer to fix? No, but at least we had the revenue there to do it, where it wasn't stressful. So let me share some other things with you. Let me share some other good information with you, that can help you. And I'm going to tell you something else. Yes, it's good for teens and also good for young adults, but also good, this information is also good for the parents and sometimes grandparents. Start a savings or checking account. Try to start them at least by age 18, all right? It's good to start, to understand how banking works. It's good to start some relationship with a banker. For some of our older viewers, it is very, very important that you have not only that you use a bank rather than some of these other services, but that you have a relationship with someone at that bank. Make sure they know your name when you walk in the door, because you may need them sometimes, and relationships work, I'm telling you. If you're going to save money, and you got to save money, you've got to automate it. Well, what do you mean? It's got to come out of your check. It's got to come out of your check right after the federal government gets their money. Then you always take a portion of your income and put it away where it comes out. And let me tell you what happens. I saved minimum 10% for years. I've done so many things that were not very smart, okay? I'm not going to kid you. But one of the things that I did do, which really put me in the position I'm in today, is that I did save money every paycheck. And I saved right around 10, and when I was doing well, 15%, but at least 10% every check. And tell you what happens. You don't miss it. You don't. You will live off what's left. And remember, we talked about interest, how interest grows and compound interest grows when you save money. All right? Don't put all your money in a checking account. Try your best not to use overdrafts, because when you have overdraft protection, it gives you a sense of security, and sometimes it will put you in the position to overdraft. Don't do that. Plus, that'll hurt your credit rating too. There are financial planners who will tell you don't use credit cards. I believe, and this is just my personal belief, that you can effectively use a credit card as long as you can pay it off every month. If you're not paying interest, you can use someone else's money and not pay interest. Sometimes it works. Do not use it if you can't pay it off. Again, create a budget. Another thing that's important, guess where I got all this information? I was asked to do this program about 18 months ago, almost 2 years ago now. And the great majority, other than my experiences, and I've had some good ones and some bad ones as it relates to money, but the majority of the information that I share with people, I found online. So you take research, you vet, you make sure that it makes sense, you get opinions from multiple people in order to make decisions. My daughter calls me today. She's going to talk to a financial planner. I told her, she's in Houston, I told her, I said, look, do not do anything with that man till you talk to your father, because I know what you need to do. She's 31 years old. I'm going to suggest that you put a minimum of 10% away in your 401k. I like her to do more, but a minimum of 10. I said about 80% of that in a high growth mutual fund. Don't want to spend a lot of time on that, but a high growth mutual fund that has done a good job of beating The S&P 500, we'll get into that. I've been accused of not dumbing things down quite enough, but this is good information for you to know, all right? And if they've done a good job over the last 10 years of beating the S&P 500, then use those and then take the other 15 to 20% to put in a little more conservative fund. And just sit there and let it grow. And when she gets to my age, she has tons and tons of money. Understand how money is made. Understand how it's made. Live always. There are certain principles that I want you to live with for the rest of your life. If you're 15 or if you're 75 and 85, live below your means. Now, if you happen to be one of those people that's rare, or you know of people who've made a lot of money, got a lot of money, they paid all their bills, their mortgages paid off. Hey man, I mean, live your life. I'm not saying don't live your life, but live below your means. If you make $30,000, try your best to live like you make 25. If you make $100,000, try your best to live like you make 75. I'm telling you, in the long run, it'll help. Now, this is really big, young folks. Don't be influenced by friends. No. Don't. Let me tell you this. Don't spend time with people who spend all the time. Wow. If the people that you run with are people who spend all the time and who don't save their money, the chances of you doing the same thing is high. Remember what you're influenced by. You're influenced by your friends, you're influenced by your environment, and you're influenced by the media. I'll tell you a little sidebar about the media. Social media is real powerful. Social media gets people to do things they don't want to do. More money now is spent on advertising in social media 3-4 more times than all the radio stations combined in the country. That's how powerful social media is. By 2024, almost every advertising dollar will be sent on some internet digital platform. And we say internet digital platform, a lot of spokes in that wheel. And social media is one of the bigger spokes. So don't be influenced by it. Try your best. Check this out, over $56 billion will be spent on social media in 2022. And guess which platform gets the lion's share of that money? Facebook. Facebook gets about 80% of that money. That's why they're making so much daggone money. Look for multiple streams of income. Try your best in your future not to be dependent on one stream of income. Most people who have made a lot of money have not been dependent on one stream, and let me share this to you, have not been dependent on one employer. Don't put all your eggs in that one employer's basket. Most young people, most millennials and Generation Zs, you're not going to stay that long with the same employer anyway. It's just not what you're made of. Avoid debt. Create an emergency fund. This is also a big one. Don't be clothes poor. Don't spend $200 on a pair of Nikes that in the minute you walked out of the store, they were $50. All right? It's not a good investment. Don't. Always use cash for wants. Shop smart. Shop smart. something I wish I had done earlier. I shop smart. And I tell you something, my wife, I mean, she's got a lot of stuff and she dressed nice, but I give her this. She shops smart. You know, what we do is in the spring, we'll buy things that are on sale that were winter items, because the winter will roll around again. And then in the winter, we'll buy things going in the spring. When we buy things, we look for ways of saving money when we buy things, all right? We just don't flippantly spend our money. Now, all you can't do this, but I'm gonna make this suggestion. Save money before you move out of your parents' house. Can't do it all the time, but cut a deal with them. Save money. Understand your student loans. Understand your student loans. You hear me on that one? Understand them. A student loan at 4% is a lot different than a student loan at 6% if you owe $35,000. Just put a pencil to it. Shop them out. Do some homework. Make sure it's a reputable company, but shop out your student loans. Wait to have children. Do not have children quickly. Protect yourself, please. And remember this, education never stops. Just doesn't. So moving on. Tell you what I'm going to give you now. I'm going to give you, and we'll finish this in our next episode. But I'm always looking for money information, you know. And let me tell you, because I always look for that money information, I found out a lot of good stuff for myself. And these are things that I share with people all the time, that I share with my children because it works. Now, a lot of this is a wee bit more advanced, but I want you to understand it. Okay? Hope we're good there. Money is earned through a crisis. Wow, doesn't that sound strange? I'll tell you what that means. People make money when there's a crisis. It is not smart to buy stock when it's at an all-time high. Now, I'm not saying that during a good time, because the stock market's high right now, that not to make calculated risk as it relates to stocks today, but as a rule, you buy stocks when things are down. You know, when the housing market is really hot right now. If you had money, the people with money, they're holding on. They're holding on. And when that thing turns, that's when you go and buy things. Money is made through a crisis. Remember, money is an exchange game. There's a difference between earning money and making money. Earning money is, all right, you work X amount of hours, I'm going to pay you X amount per hour, basically, even if you're on salary, all right? That's earning money. Making money is what you invest in. You have appreciating assets. How can you make money? How can you make money while you're earning money someplace else? I want you to think critically about your money. Money attracts money. And we've talked about this before. I'm going to read it. You will only be as successful as the people in your group. Just a fact. Look around the room. Look at your 5 best friends. And that's who you are. Okay? You will only be as successful as your 5 best friends. Usually, your income will be within 15% of the average income of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. Sometimes making money means you need to change friends. You know, you just need to change environment. Surround yourself with people who can help you. be able to ask good questions and listen. Money, wow, money is easier to make than maintain. My wife told me years ago, she said, a fool and his money will soon part. Lord, I blew some money. Oh, goodness gracious. Years ago. If you don't know how to make money, if you don't know how to handle money, you will let money go away. Money loves secrets. What do you mean by that, Mr. George? Money loves secrets. Don't tell everybody your business. Don't tell Pookie and Baby how much money you make. All right? Because Pookie and Baby will ask you for money. And that's not to say don't help people. I believe that you help your church. I believe you help charities. I believe when you got money, when God has blessed you, it is your responsibility to look back and bless other people. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is loose lips sink ships. Money doesn't like to be stagnant. You know, there have been times when I've left money in a certain place and it really wasn't making any interest and just didn't make a lot of sense. Now, it's your risk tolerance. It's called risk tolerance. I mean, if you feel good about what you have and you can't risk it, then don't. But if you don't risk, you will not make money. Everybody who's made money was willing to take risk. Money hates spendthrifts. Let me tell you, just don't spend it because you got it. Now, if you got it and you got it and you got it, good for you. But just don't waste it. I mean, just don't. Money loves authenticity, being authentic. If you got an idea that works, work that idea. Money loves to be controlled. Know what you spend and what you spend it on. Control your money, or your money will control you. And I've said this a 1,000 times, and this is for me as much for you. Every month, because I usually use a debit card on most expenditures, so every month I'll go to my bank statement and I'll see what I spent. And it's amazing what I wasted $300-400 on, you know. Stay on a budget, know where your money's going. Money cannot solve problems. Excuse me, let me say that again. Money cannot be the reason to solve problems, all right? You can't borrow your way out of a situation. Now, there are times you need to borrow money, but borrowing because you made a bad decision means you have to borrow some more, and before you know it, you're $20,000 in debt or $30,000 in debt. You don't know how to get out of it, and now it affects your credit number. Try your best to look for other forms of income. And finally this week, and we're going to finish this next week, but finally this week, and this is really profound, remember this, money will not change people. Hear what I said? Money will not. Money will make a person more of what they already are. If you're a giving person, you're going to be a giving person. If you're a friendly person, you're going to be a friendly person. If you're a stingy person, you're going to be a stingy person. If you're a mean person, you're going to be a mean person. And if you're a happy person, you're going to be a happy person, whether you have money or not. Well, I hope that's information from a little different perspective. And again, targeted toward older teens and people in their early 20s. But this is information that you need now that you can use later. And I just enjoy giving this information. And I'm hoping that you find it valuable. So again, thank you. Thank you for watching Your Money Matters. And as always, remember, God loves you, and so do we. Have a great day.